Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes. Kunja Bihari Radha Bhagavan Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Ramana Tiram Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Nitai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sukadevi Namami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna everyone, thank you so much for coming. Very happy to be here back in Radhadesh. Radhadesh Dharma Ki. So today we're reading from 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We're reading from chapter number 84, entitled The Sages' Teachings at Kurukshetra. And today we're reading from text number 13. So this very, just to contextualize this very, actually very famous verse, Srila Prabhupada, he quoted many different verses as he traveled around the world teaching Krishna consciousness. And actually this was one of his most quoted verses. So this is a verse which is actually spoken by Krishna. Krishna is in Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra appears many times in Krishna's pastimes in different contexts. Kurukshetra is actually known as the holy place for Satya Yuga. It's said that in every Yuga there is a holy place which becomes prominent. So it's explained. Kurukshetram Krite Tirtham Tretayam Pushkaram Shmritam Dvapare Naimisharanyam Navakhandam Kalo Kila. This is a verse from the Tantra, but it's quoted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Navadip Dham Mahatmya. And it says, Kurukshetra Krite Tirtham. In Satya Yuga, the main holy place that's there is Kurukshetra. Tretayam Pushkaram Shmritam. And in Treta Yuga, the prominent holy place is Pushkara. Dvapare Naimisharanyam. In Dwapara Yuga, the prominent place is Naimisharanya. Therefore, the sages had assembled there for the sacrifice to counteract Kali Yuga's effects. And in Kali Yuga, the prominent holy place, Navakhandam, the place of 9 islands or 9 sections, Navadvip, Mahaprabhu, the spiritual capital of the world. So it said that other holy places in Kali Yuga will become more and more covered, but Sridham Mayapur, Navakhandam, Navadvip will become more and more revealed to the world. So like this, Kurukshetra is a prominent place throughout all the ages. And it's interesting because Kurukshetra has different dimensions. So we can say one dimension of Kurukshetra is that it's a Yuddha Kshetra. It's a place of war. We hear 640 million soldiers had assembled at Kurukshetra for the battle of all time. So Kurukshetra is the Yuddha Kshetra. Kurukshetra is also known as Dharma Kshetra. Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. So Kurukshetra is also a Dharma Kshetra. It's a place of ritual. It's a place where you do sacrifice. But Kurukshetra is also known as a Samvada Kshetra. It's a place where many, many important conversations take place. And of course, of all the conversations that take place at Kurukshetra, of course, we know the Bhagavad Gita is prominent. But even this conversation of the teachings of the sages is also a prominent teaching that takes place at Kurukshetra. So it's also known as a Samvadam Kshetra, a place where there is great conversations. And Kurukshetra, in another dimension, is also known as Viraha Kshetra. It's a place of great separation. Because when Krishna had come there as Dwarkadish, then the Brijabasis also came there and saw Krishna after a long time. But it's amazing, they were feeling even, their separation heightened in Kurukshetra because they wanted to take Krishna back to Vrindavan and enjoy with him there, but they couldn't. And therefore it said that Kurukshetra is also a Viraha Kshetra, it's a place of great separation. So I said, how is it separation? They're meeting again. Yeah, they're meeting, but they're not really meeting because the aesthetics of the place don't allow for that exchange. So in English they have a saying, so close and yet so far. And therefore, although they're meeting at Kurukshetra, the separation is heightened because there's a sense in which now Krishna is right there, but still we can't fully exchange our love. So Kurukshetra like this has many dimensions. Therefore, the Acharyas sometimes make very extreme statements, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, only hollow people want to go to Vrindavan. Really? He says, no, we will not go to Vrindavan, we will go to Kurukshetra. So Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciple. So when he heard Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur say that, he said, I nearly fell off my seat. Vrindavan? For hollow people? And we want to go to Kurukshetra? Why Kurukshetra? And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained the esoteric meaning, that the highest aspiration of the Gaudiyas is Radha Dasyam. Not to become a servant of Krishna, to become a servant of Srimati Radharani. And therefore, service to someone is most powerful when their need is the greatest. And therefore, the desperation and the need of Srimati Radharani is greatest when she comes to Kurukshetra, because there her separation reaches an unimaginable height. And therefore, he said, the Gaudiyas will stay at Kurukshetra and worship Srimati Radharani, because there, when someone's need of service is at the greatest, then whoever comes to serve there is the recipient of great mercy. And so that was his perspective. So like this, Kurukshetra is a very, very confidential place. And in this way we can see in different dimensions. So here Krishna and the Dwarkavasis have come to Kurukshetra, and they are now receiving the sages. So it's amazing, in this chapter is described how the sages arrive, all these different illustrious sages, Narada, Devala, Asita, Vyas, they all appear in Kurukshetra. And Krishna and the Dwarkavasis are very, very happy to receive them. So as they're arriving, then Krishna is offering words of glorification, and this is where this verse appears. So please, you can repeat after me. Yashyatma buddhi kanapetri dhatuke Swadhi kalatradish bhauma ijyati Yatirtha buddhi shalilena karhiche Janeshva vigyeshu sa eva gokhara Yashyatma buddhi kanapetri dhatuke Swadhi kalatradish bhauma ijyati Yatirtha buddhi shalilena karhiche Janeshva vigyeshu sa eva gokhara Yashyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke Svadhi kalatra dishubhoma ijyati Yatirtha buddhi shalilena kariche Janesh vibhigyesh sa eva gokhara
Yasyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke
Yashyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke
Svadhi kalatri dishubhoma ijyati
Svadhi kalatra dishubhoma ijyati
Yatirtha buddhi shalilena kariche
Yatirtha buddhi shalilena kariche
Janesh vibhigneshu sa eva gokara
Yasyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke
Yashyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke
Svadhi kalatradi shubhoma ijyati
Svadhi kalatra dishubhoma ijyati
Yatirtha buddhi shalilena karhiche
Yatirtha buddhi shalilena kariche
Shubhigeshu saiva gokara
Yasyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke
Yashyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke
Svadhi kalatra dishubhoma ijyati Yatirtha buddhi salilena karhiche
Yatirtha buddhi shalilena kariche
Shubhageshu saiva gokara
Mataji's. Yashyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke Svadhi kalatra dishubhoma ijyati Yatirtha buddhi shalilena kariche Janesh vibhigneshu sa eva gokhara
Yashyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke
Yashyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke Svadhi kalatra dishubhoma ijyati Yatirtha buddhi shalilena kariche Yasya, whose Atma as his self, Buddhi, idea, Gunape, in a corpse-like body, Tridhatuke, made of three basic elements, Swa, as his own, Dhi, idea, Kalatra Adishu, in wife and so on, Bhome, in earth, Ijya, as worshipable, Dhi, idea, Yat, whose, Tirtha, as a place of pilgrimage, Buddhi, idea, Shalile, in water, Nakarhichij, never, Janeshu, in men, Abhigyeshu, wise, Saha, he, Eva, indeed, Gaha, a cow, Kada, or an ass. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. One who identifies his self as the inert body composed of mucus, bile and air, who assumes his wife and family are permanently his own, who thinks an earthen image or the land of his birth is worshipable, or who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, but who never identifies himself with, feels kinship with, or worships, or even visits those who are wise in spiritual truth. such a person is no better than a cow or an ass. Purple. True intelligence is shown by one's freedom from false identification of the self, as stated in the Brihaspati Samhita. Agyata Bhagavad Dharma Mantra Vijnana Samvida Naraste Gho Khara Gyeya Apibhu Palavanditaha. Men who do not know the principles of devotional service to the Supreme Lord should be known as cows and asses, even if they are expert in technically analyzing Vedic mantras and are adored by world leaders. An imperfect Vaishnav advancing towards the second-class platform identifies himself with the sages who have established the true spiritual path, even while he still may have some inferior material attachments to body, family, and so on. Such a devotee of the Lord is not a foolish cow or stubborn ass like the majority of materialists, but most excellent is the Vaishnav who has gained the special mercy of the Lord and broken free from the bondage of illusory attachments altogether. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, the words Bhauma Ijyadi, one who thinks an image made of earth is worshipable, refer not to the deity form of the Supreme Lord in his temple, but to the deities of demigods. And the words Yatirtha Buddhi Shalile, one who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, refer not to sacred rivers like the Ganges or Yamuna, but to lesser rivers. Srila Prabhupada ki. So here Krishna is, the basis of what Krishna is doing is he is glorifying the association of devotees. Because the sages have appeared, and this is the real purpose of going to a holy place, that you can meet saintly people. If you go to a holy place but you don't speak to the saintly people, then actually you haven't derived the full benefit. But before Krishna comes to that point, in this verse he is basically outlining different levels of material vision. In one sense, you can see in this verse there's a progression here. The most grossest type of material vision is when one simply sees this body made of mucus, bile and air, tridhatuke, and thinks that's them. This is the most basic and most grossest type of material vision, to only be able to see oneself in relation to this body. But then you can see, Krishna says, then there are others who see beyond their own body and they extend their interest to family members and society. But even that, Krishna says, is an illusion. If you think your family, your society, the people around you, if you think those individuals identify you or make you in some way valuable, your life, even then you're in illusion. Because Atma Sainyashva Satsvapi, they're all fallible soldiers. In the waves of time, all of those bonds will also be broken. But then here in the verse it says, if one even goes a little further and they identify with the land, India, Zindabad. We used to go to cricket matches and that was the mantra, we identify with a country, or we feel that we've in some way expanded our vision. First we was just the body, then it was the family and friends, now it's the country. But Krishna says even that is an illusory concept. It's a material vision. And then the interesting thing is, Krishna expands it even further. He says, but then even if you expand yourself to the spiritual realm, now he's talking about places of pilgrimage, that you go there, but you simply go there to bathe in a river or to see a sight. But you don't take time to speak to the saintly people there, then in one sense, even then you can be in material vision, because you're interfacing with the spiritual reality, but you're simply doing it for a very lesser purpose. And therefore, of course, in the purport, this is based on Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. The disciples of Prabhupada are pointing out Vishwanath Chakravarti's comment that even if you go to a place which has, the Ganga and the Yamuna, and you just go there to bathe, even then there is benefit. So it's not entirely materialistic, but it's not the greatest. The greatest is when you speak to the devotees. So this is the point that Krishna is basically highlighting, that the greatest fortune in one's life is when they come across the saintly people. Krishna bhakti janma mula hoya sadhu sang. Krishna prema janma teho puna mukhya ang. Kaviraj Goswami says that the very root cause of the awakening of devotion is that one encounters a saintly person. And therefore, when good fortune arises, yadrichaya, by some unknown good fortune, when one in their life comes across saintly people, then this is considered unparalleled, unimaginable fortune. There are various verses in the Bhagavatam which are repeated verbatim, but one of the famous verses in the Bhagavatam that's repeated twice, practically verbatim, is a verse about association. Tulayama lavenapi na svargam na punarbhavam bhagavati sangi sangasya martyanam kim utashishaha. This verse of the Bhagavatam appears in the first canto and also in the fourth canto. And what it basically explains is that ashishaha, one may think, if I get worldly benediction, I'm greatly fortunate. Oh no. Higher than that, svarga, one may think, if I get to the heavenly planets, very fortunate. No. Higher than that, apunar bhava, one may think, if I get liberation from the material world, I'm very fortunate. This verse of the Bhagavatam says, what trumps each one of these things? Worldly benediction, higher than that swarga, higher than that liberation, but higher than that, there is something that these things can't even compare to. They don't even come close. And what is that? Bhagavati Sangi Sangasya. If you meet a great devotee, if you meet a saintly person, that kind of fortune is extremely powerful. The association of devotees is infectious. In the commentary to this verse, Tulayama Lavena Api, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he refers to another verse in the third canto, Kapila Stuti. And he quotes another verse in which this verse is explaining Na tatasya bhaven moho bandas chanya prashangataha yoshit sangat yatha pumsho yatachat sangi sangataha. So in order to explain this verse about the power of the association of devotees, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes another verse from the third canto which is all about associating with materialistic people. And what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is, he quotes this verse, and this verse from the third canto basically says that to associate with the opposite gender is extremely dangerous, because from that association one can become completely materially entangled, enmeshed and enamored. But there's only one thing more dangerous than associating with the opposite gender. Do you know what that is? Associating with those who are infatuated by the opposite gender. It's a very interesting philosophical point. More dangerous than associating with the object is to associate with someone who's attached and enamored and infatuated by that object. And so it's interesting, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes that verse to explain Tula Yama Lavena Api, because basically what he's saying is that more dangerous than associating with Krishna, I mean, what can be more dangerous than associating with Krishna? He's the all-attractive. No. More dangerous than associating with the all-attractive Krishna is to associate with those who have become attracted by Krishna. Because if you associate with those who have been attracted by Krishna, then your attraction for Krishna will awaken much quicker. And so this is a principle, and this is why when the sages appear at Kurukshetra, Krishna is glorifying them. This is the greatest fortune, when the devotees appear in one's life. Once the Swaminarayan, you all must be familiar with the Swaminarayan Hindu tradition. Some of their saints had come to the manor, so I was having a conversation with them, and I asked them, for you, which is the most important verse in Bhagavatam? So they quoted a verse, a very interesting verse from the 3rd canto of Bhagavatam. Prashanga majaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu sa eva sadhushu krito mokshadvaram apavritam. They said, our teacher, Pramukh Swami, he told us that this is the most important verse from Bhagavatam. What is this verse? Kapila Dev says to Devahuti, attachment to materialistic people is the greatest source of bondage in this world. Saeva sadhushu krito, but when you transfer that attachment and you become attached to a sadhu, a saintly person, then that very same attachment, moksha dvaram, it opens the doors to liberation. And therefore they said, for us this is the most important verse in Bhagavatam, that if somehow or other one gets attached to the saintly person, then through that attachment, all attachment for Krishna automatically comes about. So here Krishna is receiving these sages with great enthusiasm. When Srila Prabhupada and the devotees went to Surat, Gujarat, just have to put this in because I'm Gujarati, at least. Actually, I shouldn't say that. If you identify as a cower in us, actually. At least this body is from Gujarat. But there in Gujarat, the devotees were received incredibly, with incredible reverence. And there in Surat, there was one Jariwala. He was some kind of businessman of some sort, but a great Vaishnav, and he received all the devotees at his home. And the devotees, they were all sick. They were all like suffering from dysentery and loose motion and all kinds of things. It was, and he received all of them at his home, and he served all of them through their sickness, through whatever they needed. He was an influential person, but when it came to the Vaishnavas, he saw, this is my great fortune, I can receive Vaishnavas in my home, so he served them with great humility. So Prabhupada was also there, and then on the final day when they were leaving, then this Jariwala, he called all of the devotees into the room, and Srila Prabhupada was there as well. And then in his infinite humility, he went round to every single devotee in the room. He offered them a donation, he paid obeisances to them, and he said, you have come to my home, you have made my house a holy place by your presence. Please forgive me if I made any offense in how I served you. And with tears in his eyes, he bowed down to every single Vaishnav. And Prabhupada was in the room. And after he did that, Prabhupada looked at all of the devotees and he said, just see, this is Vaishnava. This is Vaishnava. That they value other Vaishnava Sangha so deeply that he overlooked any fault that may have been there and saw that actually he was the greatest recipient for having their association. So this is what Krishna is basically doing, the same thing. When the sages arrive at Kurukshetra, all these verses Krishna is saying, he's telling the sages that the fact that we've encountered you means that us coming to Kurukshetra has actually become fruitful. All other things are superfluous. That we had your association is meaningful. So, yes, this is the greatest fortune if we are able to encounter saintly persons. It's explained by Rupa Goswami, Ado Guru Padashraya. You can only really enter the 64 items of devotional service if first, Ado Guru Padashraya, you take shelter of a great Vaishnava. And it's very interesting that this is the first item to take shelter of a spiritual master. It's the first item of the 64 items. And it's very interesting that when Krishna comes to Vrindavan, then Kamsa sends many, many demons. But the very first demon that Kamsa sends is who? Putana. And according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what anartha does Putana represent? The false guru. So it's very interesting that the very first item of devotional service is to surrender to a bona fide spiritual master, and the very, very first demon that can appear in one's life is a false guru. And we can see false guru in different ways. It could be someone who could come who doesn't have the correct siddhanta and they misguide you. Or it could be someone who has the correct siddhanta but they don't have the correct emphasis of of how to actually encourage you to pursue that spiritual path. Or they could have the correct siddhanta and the correct emphasis, but they may not have the correct mood, and in that way they can also lead you astray. So like this, to encounter someone who's bona fide is actually very, very rare. And the interesting thing is that the false guru can also represent our own mind. Because sometimes even if you encounter a real guru, but you still put more prominence on your own mind, then even though having encountered a bona fide guru, you're still being led astray by the false guru because you're putting more emphasis on the mind rather than the instructions of the spiritual master. And therefore sometimes someone may have a bona fide spiritual master, but if the mind and the voice of the mind becomes more prominent, then what can happen is we can end up neglecting the authority of the spiritual master. Or what one may do is, through their mind, they begin misinterpreting the authority of the spiritual master. Or what they may do is, through their mind, they may filter the authority of the guru. And in that way, even though one is in contact with a saintly person, one still falls prey to the false guru, because through their mind they either neglect, misinterpret or filter, and therefore they don't get the pure guidance required. So like this is very very powerful. In Amritavani actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that if you want to know whether you're actually associating with a sadhu, He says 3 things constitute real association with a saintly person. Very interesting. He says the first thing is honest dealings. If one is in front of a saintly person but they're not honest, they don't reveal the heart, there's some element of concealing what's actually really going on, then actually they're not really associating. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says the second factor that constitutes real association is that one hears the instructions of the saintly person with rapt attention. Then you can be said to be actually really associating with a spiritual person, because if you come but we're not hearing with open ears, with an open heart, then he says it's not really association. And the third thing he says that constitutes real association with a sadhu is not just that you're honest in your dealings, not just that you hear very, very attentively, but that you actually live your life by their instructions. And so in this way one can actually derive the true benefit. So we want to walk our journey with the saintly people, with the sadhus. In the Mahabharata, Vidura says 3 things you should never do alone. Number 1, eat tasty food. That's interesting. In the Mahabharata, Vidura says there's 3 things you should never do alone. Number 1, you should never eat tasty food alone. Always share. The second thing he says you should never do alone is make big decisions. Never alone. And the third thing he says you should never do alone is when you have to go on a long journey. When you have to go on a long journey, never go alone. Walk with the devotees. It was very nice actually when Lokanath Maharaj came to meet Kadambakanana Maharaj, and in the final few weeks. Then when he came, it was very sweet actually. He brought him a carrier bag of different gifts. Do you remember what those gifts were?
One was a parikrama book.
One was a parikrama book, and he said, you're on your way to Vrindavan, you're journeying to Vrindavan, so please take this. It will help you. Then the other one was?
Big cow for the altar.
A big cow for the altar. He said it's always good to walk the journey with a cow. And then the third, he gave him one other thing as well. And he said, you'll need, and I think so there was some fruit there as well. And he said, you'll need some fruit for your journey as well. So it was very nice. But that concept that if you want to walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk with many. Therefore the sadhus have come to Kurukshetra, and Krishna is glorifying them. Now our Tirtha Yatra is complete because the saintly people have arrived. So like this, let us take advantage of all the saintly association, because more dangerous than associating with the all-attractive is to associate with those who have become attracted. That association, Krishna Prema Janma E, will very quickly awaken love for Krishna within the heart. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. I don't know how is, what's the timings? 9. Oh, okay, sure. If anyone has a comment, question, correction. No? Okay.
No, I said I don't want to be the first.
Oh, you don't
I
want to
was
be the
looking
first.
around. Thank you, Maharaj, for your amazing class. So, when you asked who was the first demon Krishna met, then yes, Putana, and she represents the false guru, you said, huh? False guru? Was that what you said? What I thought is, yes, but still somehow or other Krishna benefited her. He allowed her to give milk from her breast, and then she got in next life, she got the position as a mother, a nurse of Krishna. So what is this false guru? I mean, how do I have to see it?
Yeah, this is yes. What is that verse? Pundarika. Aho Bhakiyam Stanakalakutam. Yes, that how merciful Krishna is, that Putana came to kill him, but yet Krishna benedicted her with the position of being a maidservant in the spiritual world. How do we understand it? It's an exhibition of Krishna's mercy. You see, in any activity there's action and there's intention. And Krishna is so merciful that he just looks for anything that's good. So for example, when Vidura's wife, Vidurani, invited Krishna, then her intention was very good, serve Krishna. But her action was a little bit off, because she threw away the bananas and gave Krishna the banana skins. I mean, if you would on the altar start giving banana skins, not like. But Krishna, he sees the action in that, he's just trying to find something good. So okay, action is a bit off, but intention is good. So let me give mercy. Then in the case of Putana, intention is a little bit off here. I mean, you're trying to kill Krishna here. I mean, it's not very nice. But the action, oh no, but just look at her action. She's offering me milk. Yeah, but she's trying to kill you. No, she's offering. So Krishna looks at it. So okay, Krishna overlooks it. No, the action is very good. Mercy. So this is Krishna. Even where there's some, Krishna is always looking for some reason to give mercy. So this is why. Hey Gopi Janavallabha Vyatayate Ha Ha Madasheva Man. Therefore Rupa Goswami says, I don't really have any reason to be hopeful that I'm ever going to make it. Because I don't have love. I don't have learning. I don't have so much knowledge. I don't have a good birth. I don't really have any reason at all to be hopeful. But hey Gopi Janavallabha, but Krishna is so merciful. He'll find something good. Because Krishna always finds something good. And therefore, ha ha madasheva man. Therefore I have this asha bandha, this unbreakable hope that Krishna will be kind. So yes, it's a great hope that Krishna will be kind. It's okay. Thank you.
So Maharaj, you were mentioning it's very important to have the bona fide guru, but then if the mind is the false guru, then although we find maybe the right guru, still it's maybe more important to work on the mind and see how we can make it more submissive than think, because these three things that you said, we filter, we do it all the time, so and then we have the pure devotee spiritual master, but we can't fully take advantage of his instruction.
Yeah, and to work on the mind, therefore the instructions of the spiritual master are there. In following it almost feels like you need to overcome your mind to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. But it's following the spiritual master's instructions that's going to help you overcome your mind. It's kind of like chicken and the egg kind of thing. So, yes. I think the way it happens is that when we are able to sometimes suspend our own ideas and say, let me just try and go with this, let me just try and just not have so much faith in myself, and for a moment just put faith in this even though I can't make all the immediate connections, then what happens is the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master will always work. And then what will happen is that one will get more and more faith that it's always worked. So why would I not try again? And why would I not do it in bigger and bigger ways? And why would I not do it even when my mind is screaming loudly with another idea? Prabhupada said, with regards to book distribution, Prabhupada said, I followed my spiritual master blindly. According to Srila Prabhupada's estimation, he couldn't really figure out, like, how is printing books, like, really going to do anything at all? Like, I don't really get it. But he kind of suspended that inability to see the effects of it and just followed it and then saw the effects of it in front of his eyes. So at the same time, we have to use our intelligence. It's not that we just become, of course, Prabhupada also says that blind following is not recommended. But at the same time, we have to understand that the wisdom and the vision of spiritual teachers is way beyond our comprehension. And therefore, we have to have that humility to be able to sometimes say, I don't know like where this is going, but let's go with it and let's see what happens. So therefore, like this, the faith must grow to the point where yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha guru. It has to go to the point where our faith in Krishna and the spiritual master is completely unflinching. Prabhupada uses this word. It's a nice word actually, huh? Unflinching. Because who is able, even in something, to not even flinch? No. That kind of faith leads one to very deep realizations and leads one into the world of unlimited possibility. But if we continue to live our life based on our mind, then we'll be stuck in the small world of I, me and mine. And in that world, nothing ever magical, mystical or memorable ever really happens. So it becomes a bit of a boring life when we just live within our own mind. But the moment we say, no, let us open our minds to be guided by a higher authority, by someone who has greater vision, then life becomes magical, because then you enter beyond. Sorry, I just said something. Hopefully some of that was coherent. Thank you.
Raj, you were saying about trying to find
Okay. So Maharaj, you were saying that it's in association with others that we develop our love for Krishna. I was wondering, is it possible to develop love by seeing the best qualities in even, let's say, materialistic people or anyone we meet, and finding that one good quality that we can learn from? Can we also develop some appreciation or learn something and develop in association with anyone we meet?
Yes, of course. Anyone can nourish our devotion. We can learn something from everyone. Even a broken clock tells the right time twice a day. So definitely we can learn something from everyone. And Srila Prabhupada did that, right? Like, you know, like when Prabhupada was sick on that very early days, and then I think it was Thanksgiving weekend and there were no doctors available. Finally they found someone, but you know, he was a bit of a quack. He wasn't really that quack. Anyway, so he examined Prabhupada And then Prabhupada was in the other room, and then Prabhupada heard him in the other room speaking to the devotees, and he said, the old man's alright. He just prays too much. He needs to go walking. It wasn't like a, highly detailed medical opinion, It's like, he just needs to walk. The guy prays too much. So Prabhupada heard it, and he just started doing a morning walk, right? And he just took it, okay, Krishna. So yes, Krishna can speak through anyone. However, in the Madhurya Kadambini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is giving an analysis of how bhakti arises within the living entity. And he basically goes through a whole analysis, and he comes to the point where he says bhakti comes from a devotee. As I mentioned that verse, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sang. And then he goes to an even deeper analysis, and he says, actually, it's not the devotee that causes bhakti, but it's the bhakti within the heart of the devotee that causes bhakti. Because there's only one thing that can create bhakti. Therefore, it's the bhakti within the heart of a devotee that impels that devotee in a mood of compassion to then awaken that bhakti within others. And therefore, that bhakti is self-maintaining, self-expanding. And so in that sense, therefore Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakati ache. Krishna is yours. Therefore, you have the power. Like Prabhupada, when he brought, I can't remember which deities, he said, I have captured Krishna. And now I've brought him here so all of you can worship. So one who has captured Krishna, Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakati, that's your power. Therefore, amito kangal, I am very foolish. Kandiya, dhai tava pache pache, crying and crying, I'm running behind you, give me Krishna, give me Krishna. Therefore, no one ever became a great Vaishnav without serving another great Vaishnav. It just doesn't happen. Because Krishna divests that power to the devotee who has bhakti within their heart. Therefore, Tulayama Lavena Pi. When you get Bhagavati Sangi Sangasya, that trumps everything. That kind of association. Nothing even comes close. Alright.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. We are greatly fortunate to have you here and listen to Krishna Katha. My question is, in the class you emphasize on the association of devotees. So I have two questions related to that. First is how to stay alert throughout the day in our dealing with devotees. And second question is why it is important.
So, perhaps the best way to stay alert in the association of devotees is to take the example of our Mr. Jariwala in Surat, who was always in the mood of service. The best way to guard yourself against offense, and more importantly than that, the best way to ensure that you can gain the most in the association of devotees is to always be in the mood of service. If you're in the mood of service, then definitely you will avoid offense. And if you're in the mood of service, definitely you will draw the smile of a Vaishnava on your life. And then if you have that, if you're empowered with that, then everything else will become easier. And therefore there's many things we could say, but the main thing is Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayora Das Das Anudas, to somehow become the servant of the servant and to always be in that mindset. And why is it important? Because Well, we could say it's important because devotees can give you mercy, but that's not just the reason that we're nice to devotees, because they can, after all, they can give me a lot of mercy. It's important because this is the real happiness of life. We have so many ideas of how to become happy, but the real happiness is when we can serve a devotee from the heart. And this is life, this is joy, this gives meaning, this makes life worth living, service. So we could give many reasons why it's important, but the fact of the matter is, this is life. Like, it's interesting, I quoted that verse, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sang. Right? So the first line says that the root cause of the awakening of devotion is Sadhu Sangha. But the next line says, Krishna Prema Janma Teho Puna Mukhya Ang. And even when you've awakened Krishna Prema, Puna, even at that time, it continues to be the Mukhya Ang, the most important thing. In other words, we're not just serving the devotees so that we can get something, but even when we've got it and awakened it, we're doing it because this is life. Like, why do we want to go to the spiritual world? Because we can serve devotees there. Serve Krishna. So, yeah. Anyway, I guess we could say more. Okay, last one then.
I guess my question was, well, first of all, thank you for, I really liked the point about flipping the verse about attachment of those who are attached to, on Krishna Bhakti, or on the attachment of those to those who are attached to Krishna as the way out, let's say, or the way up. And you mentioned, and I was thinking it's interesting, you say Kaviraj Goswami, and I was thinking that's interesting, we've, instead of saying, I suppose Krishnadas Kaviraj, right? Or, yes, right? The author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I was wondering if you could say something about associating with, through reading the books, and I suppose there's a certain familiarity, we're using a short-term name for him, for example. Yes, I'm just saying it's interesting because we're, I feel like we're becoming more familiar, and we should really be familiar, but maybe we aren't also familiar with Chaitanya Charitamrita, or that, because I suppose there's other Kaviraj Goswamis out there, right? But because of our position in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition and our relationship with the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I'm taking that as a, almost like an instruction to become familiar with the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I wonder if you could say something on this.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand. So you're saying that we have the danger of becoming familiar with,
No.
or we should become familiar?
Yes.
Yes, there's a certain intimacy that we have to have. You see, like in any Vaishnava relationship, it's said there are two elements, Vishrambena and Gauravena. I always forget which way around it is. Vishrambena means intimacy? Yes. I think so, right? Yes. Vishrambena means intimacy, and Gauravena means reverence. In other words, in any relationship, there has to be a balanced amount of these two elements. If there is too much reverence and not enough intimacy, it becomes impersonal, too distant, not heartfelt enough. But if there is too much intimacy and not enough respect, then it becomes familiar. So I would say with the acharyas, it's not that we want to become familiar with them. There's a great utmost respect, but then at the same time there's a great sense of closeness and intimacy as well. And therefore, like is mentioned, even with the Guru, Brahmachari Gurukule Vasandanta Gororitam Acharan Dasavannicho Guru Sudrida Sodita. That the Guru is held in the highest esteem, is a great, held with great a vision of reverence, but at the same time Guru Sudrida Sodrida, the Guru is also the best friend. So therefore, what we find is most relationships go off track because we don't know how to balance these two elements. Either we become too familiar, or we just remain too formal. So how to avoid the extremes of formality and familiarity. This is the great science of Vaishnava relationships. And therefore, that is what we're trying to do with, whether it's devotees we're living with, whether it's our spiritual master, or whether it's the great Vaishnavas in our parampara. There is a sense of both of these elements.
Can you say something about becoming more familiar with Chaitanya Charitamrita or associating in this way?
Shruyatam shruyatam nityam giyatam giyatam muda chintyatam chintyatam bhaktas Chaitanya Charitamritam. Every day, shruyatam, listen. Giyatam, every single day, talk about it. Chintyatam, every day, deeply contemplate what it means for your life. Chaitanya Charitamritam. And if you do this, then you become very close. So, just like any relationship, the more time you spend, and not just time that you spend, but the more quality of attention that you give in the time that you do spend, that will determine the depth of the relationship. So yes, Chaitanya Charitamrita Nitya Karapan Jaha Hoite Premananda Bhakti Tattva Gyan. Kaviraj Goswami says, brothers, sisters, every single day read Chaitanya Charitamrita Jaha Hoite. By doing so, Premananda, you will experience great happiness of love, Bhakti Tattva Gyan, and you'll absorb all the secrets of devotion that are required in order for you to walk the journey back to Raj. Hare Krishna. Alright, thank you so much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.